I never thought I'd be the guy writing this kind of story, but here I am. It's been a whirlwind of betrayal, lies, and a whole lot of pain, and I need to get it off my chest. Maybe it'll help me process everything, or maybe someone out there will read this and recognize the signs before it's too late. My wife, Jessica, and I had been together for 8 years. We met in college, got married right after, and for the most part I thought we were happy. She's always been a bit of a bitch, sharp-tongued, quick-witted, and maybe a little manipulative, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. We had our ups and downs, but nothing prepared me for what I found out recently. It all started when I began noticing subtle changes in her. She was more secretive, didn't answer her phone around me, and whenever I'd ask about her day, she'd brush it off with a fake smile or a dismissive laugh. I chalked it up to work stress or her just being tired. But then she started coming home late more often, claiming she was working late or meeting friends. She'd get defensive if I asked too many questions, and her stories didn't always add up. One night I decided to check her phone, not because I suspected outright, but because I felt like I was losing her. I'd seen her sneaking around on social media, hiding messages. I unlocked her phone while she was in the shower, and that's when everything changed. I saw texts from someone named Jake. At first, I thought it was just a friend, maybe a coworker, but the tone of the messages was too intimate. Flirty, suggestive, sometimes downright sexual. They were talking about meeting up, about her wanting to feel alive again, about how much she missed sex and how Jake was so different from me. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My hands went cold, my stomach turned. How long had this been going on? I kept scrolling and saw pictures, really explicit pictures, that she sent to him. My mind was racing, trying to process how the woman I married, the one I trusted with everything, could do this behind my back. I felt a punch of rage and heartbreak. It was like my entire world was crumbling. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to gather myself first. I had to figure out what to do next. The worst part was her reaction when I finally did confront her. I called her into the living room, my voice trembling. I showed her what I found. She looked at me with this smirk, like I was supposed to be impressed or something. "Oh, that," she said casually. "Yeah, Jake and we've been talking, but it's not what you think." Her tone was dismissive, as if she was annoyed I even cared. She told me they were just friends, that he was a good listener, and that I was just being paranoid. But I knew better. I could see it in her eyes, the guilt, the dismissiveness, like she wanted to brush it all off as if it was nothing. She kept lying, insisting that I was overreacting, that I was insecure or jealous. She turned it around on me, saying I wasn't enough anymore, that I was boring, that I didn't satisfy her. That was when I felt the sting, the realization that she'd been cheating on me with my own brother, David, during my grandfather's funeral, no less. I mean, how sick could someone be? That day I was grieving, trying to hold it together, and she was out doing God knows what with him. I was so blindsided by the betrayal I didn't even know what to think. I felt like I was losing my mind. The shock, the pure disgust, the anger, it all hit me at once. How could she do this? How could she cheat with my own flesh and blood? And at the funeral, no less. That moment when I realized that the woman I loved had been lying to me, cheating on me, and doing it with my brother, while I was mourning our grandfather, still haunts me. Every time I close my eyes, I see her smirking at me, see those messages, see the pictures. It's like a nightmare I can't wake up from. I wondered if I'd ever trust anyone again after this. The fact that she kept lying made it worse. She refused to admit the truth, said it was all a mistake, that they never meant anything serious, that I was just paranoid. But I know what I saw, and now my world is completely shattered. I don't know how to move forward from this. I thought I knew her, I thought I knew my family, but everything's changed now. I'm stuck in this limbo of anger, sadness, and betrayal, and honestly I don't know if I'll ever really get past it. After that confrontation, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was her face, smug, unapologetic, and the images of her and David together at the funeral kept flashing through my mind. It was like I was living in some fucked up nightmare I couldn't wake from. I started questioning everything. Did I really know her? Did I ever really know her? For days I just stayed in my apartment, packing back and forth, trying to piece things together. I kept replaying the moments that didn't sit right, the late nights, the sudden secrecy, her dismissiveness. I even started doubting myself, thinking maybe I was crazy, maybe I was imagining things. That's what she kept telling me: you're just paranoid, you're overthinking this, you're insecure. But I knew better. I saw the texts, I saw the pictures, I knew what I found. No amount of her spinning stories could undo that. One night I decided I had to do something. I wanted to see if she was truly remorseful or just good at lying. I started digging into her phone again, but this time I took my time. I installed some tracking apps, just enough to see her location and messages without her knowing. I needed to catch her in the act if I could. I told myself that if I saw her with him again, I'd have my proof, something concrete to confront her with. Sure enough, a couple of nights later, she left the apartment, claiming she was going out with her friends. I kept my phone hidden, watching her move through the app. I followed her location and saw her heading toward a secluded part of town. My stomach clenched. I knew this was it. I parked a few blocks away, trying to stay calm, but my mind was racing 1,000 miles an hour. Was I about to find her with him again? Or was this just her going out for some kind of secret meeting? It turned out I didn't have to wait long. I saw her walk into a dimly lit parking lot with a guy I immediately recognized: David, my brother, my own flesh and blood. The sight of them together, holding hands, kissing in that quiet corner, made my blood turn cold. I couldn't believe it, that sick piece of shit. How could he do this to me, to our family? I wanted to run over there to tear them apart, but I stayed hidden. I had my proof. That was all I needed. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I stood there in the dark, watching them kiss and whisper like they were in their own secret world. My head was spinning, rage boiling in my veins. I felt so many emotions: hurt, betrayal, pure fury. I was about to burst. That night I went home and just sat there, staring at the wall. Everything about her, her lies, her sneers, her gaslighting, came rushing back. I realized I'd been so blind, so caught up in our memories, in trying to hold my family together, that I never saw her for what she really was: a manipulative, selfish bitch who'd been screwing my brother during my grandfather's funeral. The day I was supposed to mourn, she was out betraying me with him. That image haunted me. I couldn't get it out of my head. I started thinking about what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to demand answers, to tell her I knew everything. But I also knew that it wouldn't change anything. She'd lie, she'd deny, she'd gaslight her way out of it. And David, my brother, he's just as sick, maybe worse. That day I realized I had to make a choice. Do I keep pretending everything's okay and live with this darkness, or do I finally cut it all out and walk away? Honestly, I felt like I was drowning. The pain was unbearable. I kept asking myself how I got here, how I let her manipulate me for so long. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew my family. Turns out I didn't know shit. This whole thing has turned my world upside down. I don't even know who to trust anymore. I just know I can't keep pretending it not happening. I need to figure out my next step, but right now, all I want is to get the hell out of this nightmare. The days that followed were like living in a fog. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I thought about her, about David, about the funeral, I felt this toxic mix of anger and sadness swirling inside me. I kept replaying that night in my head, wondering how I missed the signs, how I was so blind. The betrayal wasn't just by her. It was by my own family. I felt like I'd been stabbed in the back, twisted and broken, and I didn't even know how to pick up the pieces. I knew I had to talk to someone. I couldn't keep this inside. So I called my best friend Mark and told him everything. What I found, how I felt, how my wife had lied to my face, how my brother had cheated on me with her during the funeral of our grandfather. I told him about the texts, the pictures, the nights I stayed up just staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it all. Mark listened quietly, then told me I needed to confront her again. Said I deserved answers. But I wasn't sure I could do that without breaking down. The thing is, Jessica was relentless. Her lies. She would spin stories, accuse me of being paranoid, say I was jealous or insecure. She'd act innocent, like I was overreacting, like it was all just a misunderstanding. But I knew better now. I saw her sneaking around, I saw the messages, and I knew her pattern of gaslighting. That didn't just hurt, it made me question my own sanity. I started doubting myself, wondering if maybe I was losing it, if I was imagining the whole thing. But deep down, I knew the truth. I saw the proof. No way she could deny it forever. One night, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed to confront her once and for all. I set up a plan to catch her in the act, again, this time with more deliberate purpose. I installed some hidden cameras in the apartment, just in case she tried to deny anything. I also made sure to keep a journal of all her suspicious behaviors, all the lies she told, everything I could remember. The goal was to get undeniable proof so I could finally decide what I wanted to do. That evening, she came home late again, acting all innocent, acting like she'd just been out with her friends. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be calm. As she strutted in, I felt my fists clench. I didn't say a word at first. Instead, I kept my eyes on her, watching her every move. She went into the bathroom, and I immediately turned on the hidden camera. I wasn't waiting anymore. I needed hard evidence. I needed to see if she'd slip up again, if she'd let her guard down. What happened next was even worse than I expected. She didn't waste time. No sooner was she in the bathroom than I saw her sneaking out her phone. She was texting someone, and I quickly caught the name David in the message. My heart stopped. She was planning to meet him again, or maybe she was already with him. The realization hit me hard. I'd caught her in the act of lying to my face again, and this time I had proof. It was like a punch to the stomach, but I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. When she finally came out of the bathroom, I confronted her right there. I played back the footage from the camera, showing her sending messages to David. Her expression changed, at first shock, then pure rage. She tried to deny it, of course, but the evidence was undeniable. I felt this surge of rage boiling inside me. How could she be so cold? How could she betray me this way, especially at a time when I was already vulnerable? I'd been hurting so much, and she was out there, screwing my brother behind my back. Her reaction only made things worse. She started yelling, calling me crazy, accusing me of spying on her, of invading her privacy. She said I was paranoid, that I was making everything up in my head. Her voice was venomous, full of disdain. I saw the contempt in her eyes, how little she cared about what I was going through. That made me realize she never cared. She was just a manipulative bitch who played her games until she got caught. And when she saw the proof, she doubled down, trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the one at fault. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. The betrayal, the lies, the gaslighting, it all came crashing down on me in a way I never thought possible. I was devastated, angry, and sick to my stomach. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me with my own brother? During my grandfather's funeral, no less. It felt like a sick, twisted punch to everything I believed in. I wanted to scream, to break something, to just forget the pain. But what I did instead was stare at her with pure disgust and walk out of the apartment, leaving her there, still shouting, still lying. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, the lies, the betrayal, the sickening image of her and David together. It was like my entire world had fallen apart in just a few days. I kept asking myself if I should stay or leave, if there was any way to salvage this mess. But deep down, I knew I had to make a choice. Trust her again, after everything, or finally cut her out of my life for good. The pain was overwhelming, but I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to decide what kind of man I was willing to be in the face of this betrayal. The morning after I finally had my proof, I felt like I was walking around in a daze. My mind was a tornado of emotions: anger, heartbreak, disgust, and a strange sense of numbness. I kept looking at her, Jessica, sitting there with that bitchy smirk on her face, as if she hadn't just been caught cheating on me with my brother during the funeral of our grandfather. It was surreal. I mean, how fucking twisted do you have to be? She tried to act innocent, of course. Said I was overreacting, that I misunderstood, that she was just talking to David because he was going through a tough time after losing our grandfather. She threw out some weak excuse about how it's not what it looks like, that she and David are just close, that I was insecure. I sat there seething, feeling like I was about to explode. Nothing she said mattered anymore. Her words had become empty, meaningless. She lied so much, I didn't know what was true anymore. That moment I knew I had to make a decision. Do I stay and keep pretending everything's okay? Do I try to forgive her somehow? Or do I walk away, cut her out and forget I ever knew her? The betrayal was so deep, so raw that I could feel my own heart breaking in two. I was sick to my stomach, but I also knew I couldn't keep living like this. Not with her sneaking around behind my back, not with David betraying his own family. I felt completely lost. I told her I was leaving, not just for the day, but for good. I didn't give her a chance to argue. I just grabbed my keys, my coat, and I walked out. I didn't look back. I needed space to breathe, to think, to figure out if I could ever forgive her or if I should just cut her out of my life altogether. The silence in the apartment was deafening. I felt like my heart was torn apart. I knew I had to get away from her, from all the lies and the sickening betrayal, and figure out what I was going to do next. The first few days were the worst. I stayed with my buddy Mark, just trying to hold it together. I didn't want to call her, didn't want to see her face. Every time I thought about her with David at our grandfather's funeral, I wanted to scream. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let her manipulate me, lie to my face, all while I was grieving. It made me feel so stupid, so naive. How could I have been so blind? I was furious, at her, at David, even at myself. I felt betrayed by everyone I trusted. But at the same time, I started realizing I couldn't keep living in this pain forever. I knew I had to do something, to make some kind of move. I couldn't just pretend it didn't happen. I started planning my next steps, whether to try to reconcile or to finally cut her out for good. I knew I needed closure, but I also knew that whatever I decided, my life would never be the same again. The trust was shattered, and trying to piece it back together seemed impossible. Most nights, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. The images of her and David kept coming back. Those moments at the funeral, the secret texts, the lies she told me to cover her ass. It was like a sick nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I didn't even feel like a man anymore, just a broken shell of who I used to be. I wondered if I'd ever be able to look at her without feeling this deep betrayal burning inside me. Would I ever trust again? Or was I destined to carry this hurt forever? I started talking to another friend, Lisa, who's been through her own heartbreak. She told me that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from the toxic people, people who don't respect you or value you. That they don't deserve your pain and your tears. That I should focus on myself, rebuild my life, and forget about trying to fix what's broken beyond repair. It's hard advice to take because a part of me still wants to believe there's some way to save what's left of my marriage. But another part knows, deep down, that she's already gone and she's taken my brother with her. I've realized that the betrayal is so profound, so complete, that trying to fix it seems pointless. No apology, no excuse, no lying could undo what I saw with my own eyes. I've got to accept that she's not the woman I thought she was, that she was capable of lying, cheating, and gaslighting me all along. And my brother, my own flesh and blood, that's a punch I don't think I'll ever recover from. The trust has been shattered and I don't see any way back from that. So now I'm just trying to figure out how to move on from here. How to rebuild my life without the poison of her betrayal infecting everything. That's the real challenge. The days turned into weeks, and each passing day felt like I was carrying a weight I couldn't shake. I kept replaying everything: her betrayal, my brother's treachery, the sickening scene at the funeral. It's like my mind was stuck in this terrible loop, and no matter how much I tried to distract myself, the images kept coming back. I felt hollow, like I'd lost a part of myself I'd never get back. I knew I had to decide what I was going to do about the relationship. Part of me still wanted to believe there was some way to fix it. Maybe I was just overreacting. Maybe I should give her a chance to explain herself. But deep down, I knew better. How could I trust her again after she lied to my face so many times? After she cheated with my own brother? I just couldn't do it. The trust was shattered beyond repair. That realization was both freeing and heartbreaking at the same time. Meanwhile, Jessica kept trying to contact me, text messages, calls, even a few face-to-face attempts to talk. Each time I'd ignore her. I couldn't face her. Honestly, I felt nothing but resentment. How she thought she could just apologize and everything would go back to normal was beyond me. She lied so much, manipulated me so well, I don't even think she truly understood what she did. To her, I suspect, it was just some game or a fling. But to me, it was my whole life, my trust, my sanity. One day, I finally sat down and wrote out everything I felt. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment I doubted myself because of her gaslighting. I needed to see it all on paper, to acknowledge how much damage had been done. It was cathartic in a strange way. I realized I'd been carrying this anger for so long I was about to burst. Now I finally had it all laid out, proof, feelings, the truth, and I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore. I had to cut her loose for my own sake. That decision wasn't easy. I wrestled with feelings of guilt, shame, and betrayal. Part of me still loved her, or at least wanted to believe I did. But the other part knew that staying would only drag me further into this dark pit of lies and pain. So I told her I was leaving permanently this time. I packed my stuff, didn't even say goodbye. Just walked out and didn't look back. I felt like I was finally freeing myself from the nightmare she and David had created. The house, the memories, all the lies, they all felt like chains I was finally breaking. In the aftermath, I was raw and hollow, but also relieved. I started seeing a counselor, trying to process everything I'd been through. It helped me understand that I wasn't crazy, that what she did was deeply wrong, and that I deserved honesty and respect. I realized I had to rebuild my life from scratch, piece by piece, because the trust I once had is gone. Now I focus on myself, my career, my friends, my healing, and I try to find some semblance of peace again. Looking back, I see how naive I was. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew my family. Turns out, some people are just better at hiding their true colors. I learned that betrayal cuts deeper than you can imagine, especially when it's by someone you love and trust. I also learned that sometimes, the best revenge is simply walking away and choosing yourself. That no matter how much it hurts, you can survive even the worst kind of betrayal. It's a painful lesson, but one I won't forget. And honestly, I hope anyone else going through something similar finds the strength to walk away before it destroys them entirely. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much I've been through and how much I've grown, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. The pain from her betrayal, from her lying and cheating with my own brother, still lingers like a dark cloud over my mind. But I also see that I survived it. I came out the other side, battered but stronger. What I've learned is simple but brutal. Trust is fragile, and sometimes people you love the most can hurt you the deepest. Jessica showed me her true colors, and I'll never forget it. That's a harsh lesson, one I hope no one else has to learn the hard way. But it's also a lesson about self-respect. I've come to understand that I deserve honesty and loyalty, and I won't settle for anything less. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best decision I could have made for myself. Staying would have meant living in a lie, constantly questioning, doubting, and feeling like I was losing my mind. Now I'm focused on rebuilding my life, one small piece at a time. I've started therapy, reconnected with friends, and even taken up new hobbies. It's slow, but I see progress. I see hope. I don't know what the future holds, and honestly, I don't want to make any big promises about trust or happiness just yet. But I do know this. I am finally free from her lies, her manipulation, and her betrayal. And that's worth more than any apology she could ever give. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, just know that even in your darkest moments, you have the strength to walk away. You don't have to stay stuck in the pain or accept the betrayal as your new normal. It's okay to feel broken. It's okay to grieve what you lost. But eventually, you find a way to pick yourself up and rebuild. My story isn't over, but I've taken the first real step toward healing. I finally understand that I'm better off without her, and I'm finally learning to love myself again. That's the real victory. And no matter how bad it hurts right now, I believe in healing. I believe in moving forward. I believe that, one day, I'll look back at this chapter and see it as the painful but necessary lesson that made me stronger.